Hey, welcome to Socialism for All. Today's date is April 3rd, 2021. And in this video, we're going to take a look at a few AOC clips. I don't really know what's going on with AOC lately, but she's been in the news. We did a few videos last week, and here's another. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe, and consider supporting us on Patreon. There's a link in the video description. Okay, so AOC, I actually started doing this video on the US-Mexico border camps situation because we got some new information about this, and then AOC was commenting on it. So basically, the Biden administration earlier this week let in journalists from AP and CBS to view the facilities, and what the journalists saw was not great. There were more than 4,000 people, including children and families, crammed into a space intended for 250 people, and the youngest were kept in a large playpen with mats on the floor for sleeping. That is from an AP article from March 31st, 2021. The title is Over 4,000 Migrants, Many Kids, Crowd into Texas Facility. You can see pictures on the screen. The children were being housed in the hundreds in 8, quote, pods formed by plastic dividers, each about 3,200 square feet, 297 square meters in size. Many of the pods had more than 500 children in them. They were intended for 32. So if you divide 32 into 3,200 square feet, you got 100 square feet per person. That's like a 10 by 10 foot area. And they were jamming in 500 kids, really just right on top of each other. Of course, there's a pandemic. Now, they were checking the kids for lice and psychological distress, but nothing seemed to really be done for COVID. So what the Democrats have been doing in the absence of a much needed larger shift in policy towards a complete reimagining of the immigration system, towards something much more humane, labor friendly, etc., which of course they're not going to do. They're just not that kind of a political party, is highlighting the fact that they have discontinued the Trump era policy of family separation. So that's great. That was a horrible policy, but really, this is just right in line with the Democrats being the party that is 5% less shitty than the Republicans. Good enough for them. You know, we're not Trump, we're not Romney, we're not Bush, etc. That's all you're ever going to get out of this party. Ever. Ever. The task of the left is to detach from the Democrats and build an independent left party. We need to do that. Now, not everyone is agreeing with that. So people like AOC from the Democratic Socialists of America are entering the Democratic Party, and they think that they're going to change it. Well, whatever AOC's intentions may have been, she's now saying shit like this.
One of the things that I admire so much about Leader Pelosi is that she comes from a space of activism and organizing, and so I think that she really appreciates civic engagement.
Yeah, not even close. That's not even close. So we all know Nancy Pelosi these days is very well connected to the donors of the Democratic Party, very wealthy capitalists. And I mean, that's her scene. But, you know, I thought, hey, maybe she started out as an activist too. No, I looked it up. When she was born, her father was a Democratic congressman who later became the mayor of Baltimore. So she was born into a Democratic machine family. And then as soon as she graduated college, she went to work in the Democratic Party machine. And that's been her life. So she was born into a Democratic Party dynasty. And what the fuck is AOC even talking about? Well, now we have two clips of AOC talking about the border situation, with the revelation from the AP article and the CBS coverage. AOC was asked to respond. I'm going to show the first clip and then just comment on it after, and then we'll watch the second clip.
Now, the first thing I want to say is that the fact that this keeps happening over and over and over again is a political failure by both parties. And I want to be very clear about that, because I don't want to draw false equivalence. What is happening here is not the same as what happened during the Trump administration, where they took babies out of the arms of their mothers and deported their families and permanently traumatize these children, some of whom we don't know will ever be reunified with their family again, which is a level of human rights violation that is just simply not the same. Both of these things are barbaric and they're wrong. But when you rip a baby out of the hands of a mother, you cannot draw the same comparison. And anyone who is trying to do that is doing a profound disservice to the cause of justice. So I don't want to excuse any of this, but I don't think we should also get them twisted together, because one is not the same. And we cannot dust that under the rug. And by the way, those families are owed reparations, period.
Wow. That was a stunning performance in changing the subject. That's a logical fallacy. So she starts off saying, first off, I want to be really clear that both parties are to blame, but, and then you see something click, and then she goes, but I don't want to draw false equivalencies. And then she just starts talking about Trump, by the way, reparations. Okay. So I'm not a bad faith critic. I'm not from the Republican Party. I don't secretly not care about immigrants, and I'm just trying to throw a monkey wrench. I want to end capitalism. I'm a communist. I want freedom for workers. I want good living standards for workers. And that includes people from South America. I think that people should have reasonable freedom to move from country to country, etc. And I think that governments have an obligation to set up systems that treat people traveling from country to country in a humane way, etc., etc. I'm not on the right. I'm not a Republican. And what AOC just did was deflect, change the subject, change the subject, change the subject. She was elected to bring the ruckus by people who desperately want change, revolutionary change, from a system, or rather to replace a system that is dying. It is in crisis. The system is not holding together well. It's getting increasingly desperate. We need change. We need to organize for that. She was elected by people who, were into that kind of thing, electing Democrats, to try to exert some influence from within the system. How's that working out? I would say not very well. We need an independent left, because when you get in bed with the Democratic Party, this is what happens. Even electing Greens to Congress, not enough. Okay, I get that. But we need organizations and parties. We need to build that, whether or not they're in government or not, because you can only do so much within bourgeois government to begin with. But we need to build those organizations that can actually serve us both before and after capitalism. What people are doing by funneling money and resources and time, which are limited, into the Democratic Party, into people like AOC, is wasting that time. If you have set your sights lower than ending capitalism, they've already won. They've already won. If you have taken revolution off the table, they've already won, because you're not striving for it. Whatever the timeline is, whatever the process is going to be, we need to at least set that as the goal. If you're not setting it as the goal, and you're spending all your time doing all this reform and tinkering, well, this is what you get. And this is all the squad is going to do. I'm saying it right now. Now, we're going to do some analysis in another video on AOC's 2 years in office. She did a video that's currently pinned to the top of her Twitter. Did that amount to much change? Not that did she do anything, but what did it amount to? Is it what we need right now? We're socialists. We want to end capitalism. We want the working class to rule society. We want the working class to run the economy. We want to suppress the capitalists and phase out capitalism as quickly as possible. Suppress and end capitalism. That's not what's going on here. So now I'm going to play the second video. Let's watch the whole video first.
We have this surge, which people are saying, and we have to address that term because it is wrong. And people are pushing back, when we talk about this. And when they say that, the reason why we shouldn't use that term is because this is not an invasion. And in fact, when you want to talk about that, we should be owning the fact that US foreign policy has contributed to the destabilization of these regions and of the very countries that are now mired in a lot of violence that these families and these children are fleeing. So we cannot use that term, not to police it, not to be politically correct, but because we know what the level and the steps of dehumanization lead to. We just experienced this last year. And I'm not going to allow the Stephen Millers of the world to pretend that he didn't do what he did and to act like this is the same. I have been in contact with the Biden administration personally. And what I can tell you that's different about this administration, again, I'm not here to excuse it. I'm not here to say this is good. I'm not here to do anything. But one thing that is different is that they're trying to figure out and they're trying to create the resources to actually end this problem. And the Trump administration was contributing to it. They contributed to it with zero tolerance. They contributed it with the fear. They contributed it with this freaking census question. They contributed to it. So all of this is to say that there's no excuse for this system, that all of it is morally wrong, that it's repugnant, but we can at least work to change it. And that's really what we need. A deep change on this issue.
Okay, couple things out of that. First of all, what's the plan? You want deep change? You're in power. You're in leadership. What's the plan? What are you going to do? What are we changing to? Who's in favor? Who's not? Is this going to be reality? No, it isn't. You're in a party. Nothing's going to change through this system. Not really. Not substantially. Not deeply. Anybody who wants to end this system has to work primarily outside of it. Working inside the system, all that can really do is just expose to people that it won't work, which, great for those who need to see that, fine. But it's not going to lead to the change itself. Also, my favorite part of this clip is...
I'm not here to do anything. I'm not here to do anything. I'm not here to do anything.
Coincidentally unfortunate choice of words or Freudian slip, you be the judge. So anyway, in the clip, she goes back to talking about Stephen Miller, Trump, this is not the same, blah, blah, blah. And she said, basically, she's got no real answers. I didn't hear anything in there about how it's going to change, what it's going to change to, because all of this is much, much bigger than AOC. So don't get the idea that I'm trying to put this on her. But she is now part of the Democratic Party, which is part of the system. The Democratic Party, so the U.S. government is basically owned by these two parties. I mean, who are in turn owned by the 1%. But basically, they have this system. It's like both their administration and management, and it's got this sort of built-in security system baked in. You can't analyze just one in isolation. You can't say, well, if it was just Democrats, things would be great or it'd be better with the Republicans. They're part of the same system. They react to each other. They have been adapting to each other for a very long time, and they have basically intertwined with each other deeply over the years, where they've kind of divided up any sensible, logical political position you could possibly have and carve it up between the two parties in a way that you never get a good, complete picture from either side. And it's going to stay that way forever. Joining one of these parties, you can't change it. It's a behemoth. It's a giant. There's just no way that you're going to get in there and, normal rules of influence are going to operate. You can't simply just drag it left. The Democratic Party and Republican Party, they are two parts of the same thing. I know that this sounds trite, but I really mean it in the sense of they truly have grown together over many decades. They have coordinated elaborate strategies for keeping the working class divided. And it is a two-player system. Both of them operate on us, both individually and together, to prevent meaningful change. This is the way it's been for a very long time. And listen to what she's doing. Well, this isn't as bad as Miller. This isn't as bad as Trump. Sure, it's got to change. Sure, it's not good. But hey, at least it's not Trump. Listen, we're out of time for this stuff. Also, what is AOC doing right now? Well, here's an article about how she's giving money to Democrats who oppose Medicare for all. Why? Because we got to keep those seats blue. Fuck this. Fuck it. I'm done. If you're not done, tell me why. This is going nowhere. Join an org, get organized, fight for socialism, and leave these ridiculous half measures behind. Time's up. We're there. The unrest is coming. Get organized and let's channel it to a useful purpose. We saw 2020 people out in the streets in record numbers. That's going to happen again. We need to build organizations that could take power after capitalism. We need to start building them now, even if it's 3 or 5 or 10 people in an area. We need to build those groups, and we need to hang on, and we need to do what we can, because this system is not doing well. It's not delivering anything to people that they need. People are really struggling. There will be more unrest. This is guaranteed. And we socialists need to put this reformism behind. U.S. capitalism, as the muscle, the military might of global capitalism, global imperialism, is so far past its sell-by date, it's not even funny. Now with China eclipsing the U.S. in virtually every way, the U.S. is only going to get more and more threatened and more desperate, except this time it's going to start really fucking up. It already started fucking up in the George W. Bush years in a big, blatant way by just going to naked military aggression. Any pretense of U.S. goodwill was chucked out the window in favor of just land grab, oil grab, etc. And we're 20 years into that. They've burned through everything. We're dealing with a desperate, dangerous situation. The system is, one of our coming current events videos is a video from 2015 out of Harvard talking about what happens when China's on top. I say more destabilization and desperation from the Western imperialists, and it's going to get ugly. We need to abandon these notions of working within the Democratic Party, pulling the Democratic Party left. It's just, my mind boggles at this point. If Bernie Sanders didn't show you that that's not possible, and AOC now isn't showing you what actually happens when they get inside the Democratic Party, I don't know what else to tell you. Take some smelling salts, figuratively. But big changes are on the way, and we socialists have to get ready to agitate, educate, and organize people to help oppressed people standing up, because they don't stand up because we tell them to stand up. They stand up because they're oppressed, and eventually they get sick of it. When they do, we need to help them learn from history of how to turn that refusal, that rebellion, that resistance into power, to turn things around on the oppressors, put down the oppressors, and create a system not based on oppression, exploitation, alienation, socialism. If you have a thought, leave it in the comments, and we will catch you in the next video. Thanks for listening. And that's the video. Thanks to our current patrons whose names are on the screen. If you'd like to get your name on the screen or just support us financially, you can go to patreon.com/socialismforall and sign up for a monthly donation. You can also follow us at facebook.com/socialism4all. Used to have a page at FOR all, and it got throttled to death by Zuck. Here on YouTube, please click the like button, subscribe button, and the notifications bell. Please leave a comment if you can, and please share our video wherever you're online, your Twitter feed, your Discord servers, Reddit subs, etc. All of that helps more people to see this content, whether it's in the YouTube algorithm or just posting it on other sites. All of that's helpful. All of you out there supporting and promoting this content makes it all go that much more smoothly. We need to end capitalism, normalize talking about socialism today, and it's really kind of our only hope for a better tomorrow. Thanks for all you do, and we will catch you in the next video.